All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole. Thank you for joining us on our webinar today. We are going to be covering travel, tourism, and hospitality, specifically how AI assistants work on those websites. And I am joined by Bill Rogers, AI One to Z CEO and co-founder, as well as Derek Barca, who is the CTO of Silvertech, one of our premier partners. And so I'm going to first hand it off to Derek to give a brief intro about himself as well as Silvertech.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. Hey, everyone. My name is Derek Barca. As Nicole mentioned, I'm the CTO and one of the partners at Silvertech. We're a digital marketing technology agency. We're headquartered out of New Hampshire, but have three offices across the US. We're about 140 people and do everything from web design and development, paid media, digital marketing, custom application development, and obviously AI implementations with partners like AI One to Z. Our focus is really kind of combining our deep kind of UX strategy and research teams with technology to create, truly remarkable customer experiences with, which is what we're going to talk about today. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, Derek. All right, to give a brief agenda, we're going to go over the booking experience today on these travel websites. What is an AI assistant, also known as an AI agent? You can also visualize it as an AI chatbot. The use cases of AI assistants across those industries, and then a live demo. We actually have two live demos and really excited to see something that Derek is implementing with AI One to Z, and then the create, walk, and run approach to AI implementation. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Derek.
Yeah. Thanks, Nicole. I really like this example of AI with travel and tourism, just because all of us that have traveled or travel a lot experience this problem. It can be very frustrating. Travel is wonderful, but planning trips can be very time consuming. It can be overwhelming with all the different choices available to you, whether it's a business trip or a trip with family here in the U.S. or overseas. There's just so many choices, and it's kind of hard to narrow it all down. Um, I speak from experience. Again, I travel a lot for work. I travel a lot, with my family for fun and things like that. And it's difficult. I spend a lot of time perusing local travel websites. Again, whether it's for work or pleasure. A lot of times I'll be going to, Austin or Concord for a conference, but I want to fly in, the night before or a day early to try and squeeze as much as I can in to experience the local culture and things like that. So I've spent lots of times perusing websites and reading, the top 10 things to do in Austin or, the must-see views in Colorado. And I've spent a lot of time going through, all trails, finding, a hike nearby the conference center that I can squeeze in the morning of, and things like that. A couple of years ago, my family and I went to Puerto Rico. And we had never been there before, so I want to kind of squeeze all the good things in. I remember how much time I spent kind of again on the web perusing those local Chamber of Commerce websites and all the different travel websites for Puerto Rico, trying to figure out, where on the island we wanted to stay based upon activities we wanted to do. And then once we kind of narrowed it down to an area, then you go online and you look at the resorts, you look at Airbnbs and things like that. And it ended up being a great vacation, but we spent hours kind of narrowing it down how we wanted to kind of organize things. Fast forward to last year, myself and two colleagues from Silvertech, we were very fortunate, went to Ireland for a conference with one of our partners. And we did the same thing. We flew in 2 days early. Conference started on a Monday. We flew in the Friday night before, got there Saturday, and we had 2 days to do in Ireland. So this time, rather than using websites, we used ChatGPT. We went on ChatGPT and said, what are the things we have to do in Ireland that are, a day's drive from Dublin? And in not too long, we used ChatGPT to kind of plan out a whole trip from Dublin to Galway and back and kind of created this round trip process. And it worked really, really well, which kind of led me to an idea I had for one of our customers. We do all of the website work for the state of New Hampshire. And that includes kind of your typical state websites, the Department of Motor Vehicles, Health and Human Services, all the business oriented type of things. But we also do travel and tourism, so the visitnewhampshire.gov, which is a big part of the state of New Hampshire. If you're not familiar with New Hampshire, we don't have a sales tax or an income tax. All of our revenue comes from travel and tourism and rooms and meals tax and things like that. So it's very important to drive travel and tourism. And we were talking to our contact there, and she had come across this widget you can put on the website that helps you kind of plan trips. And it was really nothing more than kind of a Google map with like some filtering and stuff like that. So you can kind of go in and say, I'm interested in, barbecue food, or interested in a hike, and it kind of let you kind of see things and click them and add them to itinerary. And it was helpful, but it got me thinking about how we had used ChatGPT to plan that trip to Ireland. And I was like, we can do something much, much better here. Let's see how we can, leverage AI to kind of, create kind of guide, the visitor through a process to kind of gather their interests and things like that. And then you use AI to kind of plan that trip out for them. And we did it. It's going to go live just after New Year, and it came out really, really well. And it's a great kind of use case for AI, and we'll show that later, hopefully. But in the meantime, that's kind of the booking experience today. But I'll hand it over to Bill to kind of talk about how AI assistants can make that experience a lot better.
Yeah, I think it's a very important point that you're making, Derek. A digital assistant matters in hospitality for a number of reasons. One of the reasons why it matters is that the experience starts before the check-in. It starts the moment the guest has a question. So the guest is going to compare the hotel's experience or the resort's experience with what they're used to. They're going to compare it to an Amazon or an Uber or anything that's instant like. And you mentioned, they're using ChatGPT. Well, you need to create that same kind of experience on your website, or you're going to have people just focus on ChatGPT. And if they do that, they're looking at all the competition as well. And everyone's experienced the real world pain that when people call the concierge desk, that the phone just rings, or they email the concierge for a dinner reservation and they don't hear for 60 minutes or longer. Delay is the killer of all deals. And so what guests actually want is they want the ability to get a process or an answer in real time. And so what they also want to be able to do is that they want to be able to know that if there is this assistance that's available through email, through the phone, through a their mobile app, through the website, that they're going to gravitate towards that because they know they're going to get instant responses. And so what does that do? So it alleviates the overload that's happening to call centers. And call centers, think of the challenge that you have with a call center. The call center uh, always has a lot of turnover. And so when you have new people to the call center, a concierge is actually going to answer the question more accurately than that new trainer trying to look at a PDF, trying to figure out, do I have an answer to this question? While the user's waiting online where they're trying to ask a simple question and not be able to get an answer really rapidly, not even feeling confidence that the answer is even correct. And so with a modern digital experience, not only can you give answers, so if it's an answer to do an itinerary, it includes a map, all in real time, referenceable in the future for people to be able to interact with. And so there is a big business impact of having a digital assistant, and that this digital assistant means that you're going to have things part of your resort and your hotels, things like activities. And your goal as a resort is to sell things, whether it's to sell, I want to have a activity for golf or activities associated with the spa or the restaurant. People are going to call and have questions around, what's the menu like? Are there any food that's not free? They don't get an answer. They're checking out the restaurant that's down the street to see if they have an answer to the question. And again, time is the killer of all things. If somebody answers very quickly that we have it and they like it, you've just lost that client to someone else. And so ultimately where a system like ours is that it connects to the content management system of the hotel resort. So it's giving real answers. It's not hallucinating answers. It's answering the questions based on the context of the content it has, as well as the integrations that you can have with your system. So it can talk to the reservation system to know, Are there rooms available, and is there availability at the restaurant? So that's some of the reasons why you need an assistant. So architecturally wise, just to let people understand what's happening when you have an assistant. So when a person asks a question, the assistant has a reasoning engine to decide, do I need to talk to one of my integrations, the reservation system? Do I need to interact with a CRM or the weather so that if the person's asking about, can I play golf today? Is the weather going to be okay? That it actually interacts with the local weather. Do I need directions to the airport? It's going to call Google Maps. But when they have questions, and those questions could be as questions about the resort, tell me about the golf course, tell me about the spa. It's using what we call a RAG, which is the question and answering engine part of the system. This is where we ingest all the information from your connector to your content management system and make the questions be coming from the voice of your brand. Each one of these, the reasoning engine and RAG have a system prompt. This gives it the ability to talk the tone of your voice. How do you want it to respond and act? The reasoning engine actually knows about any integration that you enable for it to be aware of. There's an experience layer that's part of the platform too, because a lot of time people don't even know what to ask. So this experience can change based on where they're coming from. So if they want to interact with the support part or a concierge service, their front screen could be completely different than if they just are a site visitor interested in the hotel and what they see. Orchestration is this ability to do more complex things. Like, for example, an email comes in that says, can you check to see if there any reservations available for the hotel restaurant? And then this orchestration can go and interact in real time to the back end system, look things up, formulate an email back to the user, create the reservation and send them back and inject buttons into the email so that you can have the user, confirm that that's going to work for them. So if you give them a few choices, they click on which one that they're interested in, and they'll be able to do that. So this is the basic architecture of an agent that would be used. In the concept of use cases, there many that you could be automating. Everything from concierge service where often concierges are being asked to go do things, and so they be able to automate some of those processes where they can check, for example, a late checkout. And so when they go late to ask for that, it goes to the backend system, a microservice where it will determine, is this room available for like a 2 hour late checkout? And if it's not, get a response immediately back to the user. Likewise, if there is, then the user knows. Now the user might say, okay, I'm going to use concierge service and I'm going to request something. And using their mobile phone with a microphone, they can just say, I want, champagne and a pizza. And because it knows the context of who you are, it actually remember who you are, bring up a form that's collected all the information that's all filled in for you. You submit it, and now you're being charged for champagne and pizza being brought up to your room. So there's a whether you're trying to build an itinerary, which Derek's going to show a concept of not a concept of a really cool example of that being done. But if you're a hotel chain and you want people to use services like hikes and you want to create itinerary and you want to stop at a restaurant or whatever, then the hotel can gain new services by connecting to outside companies that they work with to set up bike tours and stuff like that. And it's all being automated through a digital assistant.
Derek, any other things that you want to add to that? Bill might have covered them all, but in terms of just use cases that you've encountered with your clientele?
I think he covered the use cases, but I think he said something key that I want to expand on a little bit, and that was the context that the AI assistant has and how important that is. Um, a well thought out and built assistant is so much more than just ChatGPT. If I use the Visit New Hampshire example, for example, someone could very easily go to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, help me plan out, a trip to New Hampshire." But Visit New Hampshire, our client doesn't want people doing that because ChatGPT, to Bill's point, has all of the world's content at its fingertips, and it could just as easily send someone to, Maine or Vermont, which obviously, being Visit New Hampshire, we want to avoid. We want people going to New Hampshire. So when we built out their kind of travel assistant, their like trip planner, we're making sure that we have control over all the content that's driving that LLM. So it's only recommending places in New Hampshire and places in New Hampshire that, that we want them going, that the places that, we're promoting and sorts of things like that. So in using something like AI 1 to Z to kind of build out that trip planner, we have total control over the content that it's going to recommend, and we have total control over all the prompts that we're providing to the AI model to return the trip planning. Again, people could go to ChatGPT, but a lot of people struggle with, how to create a good prompt to get the information that they want back. When we create that assistant, we can drive the context, drive the data that is going to drive the experience, and we can create and drive all those prompts to make sure that people are getting, the best experience possible and getting the information that they really want.
Yeah, I think the concept of showing a bot that says, "How can I help you?" is
Yes.
not actually all that helpful.
No, not at
In
all.
fact, in fact, our experience is that people that are have been doing some of that, their usage is so low because the user comes to the bot and they don't even know what to do. And so providing the experience for what they can do, one, increases the likelihood that they're going to use the assistant to achieve all the goals of why you put a bot on your website or an AI search on your website in the first place.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
So these are some of the important things here, and there's many more, but I'm going to touch on a few of them. So streaming is now become, is kind of essential. As we know, these bots are using a technology where we call the LLM and we stream the results back from the LLM to give an answer. Now, we're using the system prompt to help the LLM know what to go do. But if without streaming and just giving a response at the end, it can be slow. So streaming makes the experience feel much more like what you see on ChatGPT would be, it's exactly what they're doing and exactly what we're doing. But we add something also to it. We add something called caching. And so caching means that as your site gets used, it actually gets way faster. So way faster than ChatGPT. The responses can be essentially instantaneous, and which also creates a much better experience. Multilingual, what you'll find is in multilingual, you have the concept of ingesting content from your CMS in maybe just one language, maybe just in English. And yet somebody can come in any language, Japanese, for instance, ask a question, and it's going to respond in Japanese, which means that you just open up your marketplace in the travel industry dramatically because now you have something that's actually talking in the language of the user that's interested in what you're doing. Calls to actions, we talk about the voice of the brand and driving. It's not just, even though we can be used as a chatbot, we're also used as AI search. And it's not just about answering questions, but it's driving the user down a funnel. And so that part of that funnel is having calls to actions to get the user to some goal because you as a resort want to sell more properties, I mean, more, people using golf, more spa time and all those things. And calls to actions helps to get people to know, oh, I can go do this kind of thing. How do I get to the next step? Comparisons are actually pretty cool technology. And so because we are a reasoning engine and a RAG system, when you say compare, typical RAG systems has struggled with this because it needs comparison content to be able to do the comparison. But reasoning engines can say, tell me information about like room A, tell me information about room B, and then what it might ask the user in that kind of comparison, what's important to you? And so the person might say, I have an older person that's with me. And so by sending that in and it does the comparison, it does the comparison, but it'll actually tailor and personalize the experience to you as the user. A lot of people don't realize the importance of forms. So, although LLMs could ask you questions and going back and forth, that back and forth capability is really, really bad. You're going to see similar thing with what Derek does with building out a way of collecting data that you're not going back and forth to the LM. It just takes too long. And so forms are actually really important, and you want forms that can have like Ajax in it because there's times that you need to go and see as you collecting this information, like to schedule a room, is that room type that you're picking, is it available on those dates? And so being able to have an Ajax driven form to be able to call the microservices for certain pieces of it become important. The concept so I'll skip over a couple of these. I will point out concept of carousels. So there's times where you want to get structured data coming back to you. Like, for example, what's on the menu, or what are another example could be what are the local restaurants and things like that. It's actually bad to go get that data and bring it to the LLM and have the LLM try to generate it because it takes forever. So you want to use this combination of go call a backend system to go get me the information. It may be calling your CMS and you're doing a JSON REST or another kind of call where you're filtering the data that's coming back, and then you're displaying it in a slider or a list carousel. And so it skips that data from have to going to the LLM. So just to clarify something, it's not bad to give the LLM a lot of carousel data as an input and actually have it generate a suggestion from what you're getting back. It's just bad for it to generate it. And the reason why it's bad to generate all the entire list, it's slow. And so your user will be just like, oh, this is taking forever for this to go and generate. There's times that, when we're working with a lot of organizations, there are times where you really want live agent escalation to happen. The bot can tell when the user is either frustrated, or in some cases, in sales organizations that we work with, they want us to qualify the lead and then they want it to talk to a human. So they want it to escalate to a live agent. Now there's integrations where you see MCP protocol, which is the new standard of integrating with backend systems. We will be introducing an orchestration engine that also integrates, and it has like almost 500 nodes coming at the end of this week. So stay tuned and watch for that to happen. And then there's just all this other stuff. Like you think about, I think one of the features that we showed, or we introduced back about 6 months ago, was adding history to all the system prompts. And that one feature was like one of the engineers from the organization came back to us and said that has to be the best. It does differentiation so you can see what changed when. And as the new programming language is actually, you typing in a prompt to control how it should do with tokens that the system prompt gets filled in with these tokens to do certain things. Of course, you're going to want analytics, and you're going to want to have things like an experienced designer and all those kinds of things. But that's kind of like some of the basic blocks that you want to think about with an AI assistant.
All right, so let's show it in action. So I'm going to hand it over to Derek and he can demo on his side.
And you can see my screen, right?
There we go. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this is the Visit New Hampshire Travel and Tourism website. This is a development version of it on one of our local servers. Like I mentioned, it's going live in early January in the new year. So You can't go see it live yet, but this is a kind of a sneak peek of what version one's at least going to look like. So this is their standard homepage. We'll have when we're swapping out the hero banner to kind of promote this new trip planner. Also have kind of a large media campaign going along with it. The state's really going to be driving a lot of people to this in hopes of helping people again plan trips to New Hampshire and increase those tourism dollars, which is important. So start off by clicking Discover My New Hampshire Trip. Have a little splash screen and then click Let's Go. And again, this goes back to kind of a lot of times people don't know what to ask the AI or the automation of the bot. So what we really wanted to do was kind of guide the person through the process in the quickest way possible to kind of figure out what it is they're looking to do in New Hampshire so they can make the best recommendations for them. So it starts off with when are you planning to visit? You can pick specific dates, or if you don't have specific dates in mind, pick a season. You're looking to come in fall or winter or spring, and for how many days. So um, maybe I'm looking to come in summer, and I want to go for 4 days. Go ahead and click next. Who's going to be joining me? Obviously, if you're going alone or maybe with your family or a group trip, it's going to change the type of things you might want to do. So it's important to tell the model that. So I'm going to come with my family. And then it's going to ask, what are you looking to do in New Hampshire? What sparks your interest? Are you looking for, historical towns in New Hampshire? You're looking to go to the seacoast or the mountains? For me, I want to do some outdoorsy stuff, so maybe some of the lakes and rivers. Mountains are obviously a big part of it, and then the seacoast wouldn't be bad either. So go ahead and click that, and then you want some travel lodging recommended as well. Yeah, sure, why not? I think a resort or vacation rental would be great. Click next, and then now, based upon my previous choices of the season I'm coming in and what I'm looking to do, what types of activities might be interested in. So, some scenic drives, maybe some swimming, hiking would be good, and some water sports. Click next, and then beyond activities, what else might interest me in New Hampshire? Obviously, dining. I'm a big brewer fan, so maybe find a good brewery in New Hampshire, and then wellness and relaxation, and maybe some family fun. And from here, we go ahead and click create trip. And then at this point, we're taking all that information that we gathered from user, we're sending it to AI 1 to Z. AI 1 to Z is running that against the model they created in the background, again, only being driven off of the data that Visit New Hampshire is providing them. So they're not going to make any recommendations, again, to Vermont or Maine or any other places that we don't want them to go when coming to New Hampshire, right? Before I jump into, I want to point out as well, one of the cool things about AI and kind of getting that engaging experience with the user is as that user is going through and clicking off their interests, we're saving those interests back to the backend content management system. Even though I'm an anonymous user, they don't know who I am, I can still save those interests to their profile. So if they ever come back, I know they're interested in coming to New Hampshire in the summer. I know they're interested in, again, craft beer, water sports, hiking, and things like that. So now I can start to personalize the experience on the rest of the site based upon that information that they gave me. If later they convert and give me their email address, I have all the information. I have their email address. Now I can send them, very targeted marketing emails about the things that they're interested in, which is obviously very important with driving marketing and things like that. So the AI came back. It kind of prompts me with kind of a picture of New Hampshire and where I'm going to travel to. I can go ahead over here and click on day one and kind of see what the trip planner came up with me for me. It's going to have me check into the Loon Mountain Resort. It gives me the information and things like that. If I don't like this choice, I can go ahead and click choose another option. Oh, these log cabins look fun. Let's try that instead. Confirm to replace it. It's going to update the trip for me in real time. From there, we're going to visit the Flume Gorge. Never been. It's beautiful. You should check it out. And then from there, we're going to have dinner at the Woodstock Inn and Brewery. So that's day one. I can jump around to day two and see kind of scenic drive in the Kangamangas, some kayaking on Squam Lake, and then finally dinner at a local deli, which is nice. And then again, I can go through all these different things and kind of see the different activities it's planning for me throughout the week, which is pretty cool. Um, for me, I'm looking at this. I'm like, you know what? Like, I could probably squeeze a couple things in a day four. I can go ahead and click edit trip, and I can ask it, can um, we add a hike on? Ooh, I can't type on day four. And it's funny, as I was thinking about my demo and Bill was talking about earlier, I'm like, you know what? He mentioned multilingual. This might be daring, but I figured, okay, how do you ask it how to add a hike on day 4 on in Spanish? So we're gonna go ahead and try that out. If it fails, that's what I get for spitballing on the middle of a demo. But let's give it a shot. It's usually quicker than this too, but again, this is a it's a dev site, so bear with it. I'm also demoing from home, so I'm VPN'd into our office. So it's taking a little time as well. Yeah, I think it's hung
So
up.
what's amazing about this too is that it's a combination of AI and an experience. You've created an experience for the user to be able to
Yeah,
interact. And that's, I think, a big difference than what we're seeing in a lot of cases of AI where ultimately just people are just thinking, well, ask it a question and get an answer,
yeah,
and they don't realize that it's not driving people to the next step. There's no call to actions. Well, essentially, this is a call to action.
oh,
Change my
definitely,
trip, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. Um,
We'll test the multilingual, but
yeah.
one
I
thing
don't
I
think it's
do want to.
multilingual. I think it's my local environment.
Oh, all good, all good.
Yeah, see,
Uh,
it's my local environment.
Cool. One thing I do want to add in, maybe Derek, you're going to say this, but like this is phase one. Phase two, I'm
Yes.
really excited about because then you start doing the integrations, like
Yep.
integrating with Open Table to make your reservation. And so Derek mentioned
Yeah.
that hike. You can then integrate with all trails and then
Yeah.
access it on your mobile device right then and there. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, 100%. The next step is definitely integrations. As Bill mentioned, all those different MCP servers. So we can to talk directly to OpenTable to get, availability for the Woodstock Inn and Brewery. Depending on the APIs available for the different resorts and locations, things like that, we can pull up pricing and
yeah,
reservations for them and have it
I,
all
I
integrated
think
into here.
I honestly, Derek, I think you're going to be one of our first beta customers, or not beta customer, first customers to the our service for orchestration. When
Yep.
you see a visual drag drop, add nodes for connecting to all these sorts of things, Salesforce, HubSpot, all of these kinds of nodes, but it's a workflow engine. So
Yeah.
this might lend itself very well when you're saying, okay, I'm going to connect to all trails. I need to go create a well, anyways,
Yeah.
something to go think through.
Yeah, and so as of right now, you can click on Share Trip, and it's going to copy the link to your clipboard. You can send to a friend and things like that. A later version is going to have you click Share Trip. You can enter email addresses. You can save it to your account. So again, we'll have their email addresses. When you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about orchestration and things like that later, once they've saved the trip and if they have dates around it, later on, should the weather change, that's going to interfere with maybe the plans that maybe they're planning on going hiking on a day. It's going to be really heavy rains. That orchestration kick off and give them alternate plans based on weather, based upon current events and things like that, which would be really interesting.
Good.
Cool.
Um,
Awesome. So, Bill, do you want to quickly demo Kalani? I know some folks have seen this, but we have new features to share.
okay. So you see it?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. So this is Kalani. So one experience here is this, we have this version one of our experience manager where, ultimately the when you're coming to a bot, the experience starts with this here. Same kind of concept. So, for example, the concept of people don't know exactly what they can do. So this helps them to understand what they can do. So these things can get pretty sophisticated. So if I look at menu, I can see here's the breakfast menu. So I'm looking at the breakfast menu. I could come back over here and I can say, I can say, wine menu, that all these things are all sorted and organized. And by the way, I've not once come back to the server to go do something. So everything is fast. So also I have this ability to go do filters. Now this is creating the prompt. So when I come over here and I say I want to get maybe something that is for my mains that is, not allergy free, then when I say apply filter, this is creating the information that's being sent to the LLM. Now, what it's doing with the LLM is it's calling the back end and it's filtering based on the information. It's also an e-commerce environment, so you can do things like add, I want to get some of these and add it to a cart because I want this to be sent to my room. Um, so in this similar thing here, if we click start over and we go back here and we have an image galleries, which can be video galleries. We have restaurants, again, not going back to the server. So you're seeing lots of information, but you can again do filtering and you can see how you can have like a rating score, what type of food do you want? And then when you click apply filter, it is now going back to the server and it's applying all the AI is applying all these filters and it's now bringing back the restaurants that are steak restaurants that are available from who they partner with to go do something. Now we can also, let's just do a start over here and I'm going to come over here and say something like, what are the activities? So when I enter that in, you can see how fast that came back. That's because that's a common phrase and people is cached. So when I click again, this is the funnel concept. So you're showing people these are activities the hotel wants to sell. So when I click on learn about golf, it's going to now tell me about golf. And then what it's going to do is it's going to again uh, bring me down the funnel. Now sign up for golf. So when we sign up for golf, this is where it's bringing up an enterprise form engine to go do something. So when I come over here and just enter in my information, and I'll put in room 47, and it's enterprise, it does all the validation and stuff like that. So if I tried to go to the next screen without entering the information, it won't let me do that. I'm going to put in the phone number. We're going to click a start time. So depending upon which date I go and pick, so if I pick tomorrow, these time slots will be different based on what. It's a microservice calling a backend service to see what's available. So then I'm going to say I want to get a club car and I'm going to click sign up. And when I click sign up, it's going to now do a bunch of things as a reasoning engine. It's sending me an email. It is making sure that the reservation is set up, and it's going to respond back to me to confirm the information that I just did. So it did a bunch of functionality. And I think, if we go back here, let's go start over again. When I come back over here and look at like you can do things like, let's say if you say, you know, the spa, you can see how people wouldn't even know if they came to a spa what they might want to be able to sign up for. And this concept of this welcome message, one, can be multilingual. Two, it can change depending upon where you are on the site. And we're using a Vibe programming language to actually program this. So if you want to interact with this, we have version 1 of this Vibe programming where you come and you can say, I want it to look like this and give it some extra instructions and it will regenerate this whole welcome screen, JavaScript, CSS, and the HTML that's required to create these kinds of screens. Phase 2 will come in the next quarter where we're building a whole experience manager around it, where you visually can drag and drop. So when you come over here, you'll be able to visually drag and drop, just not and not just telling the AI I want you to make a change, but you can make changes. You could select an image and actually change the image by right-clicking on it. I think some of you might know we were famous at the Electron days for making the first WYSIWYG editor, and we're taking this WYSIWYG concept across to what we're going to be doing when we're creating these Vibe programming experiences. I think that's all, unless you want me to show
Great.
anything else, Nicole.
Yep, just one more slide from Derek. So let me go back to just a second. Trying to find it. Uh, I'm so used to using Teams, so just give me 1 minute.
If you
There we
want
go.
me to,
Got it. Got it. Got it. All
so I have it.
right. All right, Derek, over to you.
I don't think,
Yeah,
I think, am I still
good there.
sharing?
No, it's good. So obviously the next question is obviously a lot of times about implementation and how do you a approach a project like this. As I mentioned kind of an intro, we're not just technologists. We're a team of, user experience designers, strategists, usability researchers, and things like that. So for something like this, before just jumping into trying to solve an idea, it's about kind of understanding what the real problem is, what the opportunity is around a new customer experience and driving more businesses or just a better experience for your customers. But big part of that is understanding what that problem is and then designing the right solution. And when we go about that, I'm a big believer and a big fan in kind of a crawl, walk, run approach. Let's not let perfect get in the way of good. Let's design that first use case, get it out into the world, and then get feedback from that, which is a lot of what we're doing with Visit New Hampshire. We're not trying to add in all the features with the MCP servers and integrations and things like that. We're getting it to a point where we kind of have like a minimal viable product, getting out there, and then looking at the analytics, understanding what's working, and then iterating on that. So that's really how it goes, especially today. If you're in the business world, obviously the economy is not in the best place. Budgets are getting tighter. So a lot of times that qual rock one approach is a lot more of a feasible rather than asking for a big budget for this big project. Let's bite it off into pieces, execute that first phase, prove that's working, prove that we can get a return on investment, that we're moving the needle, and then ask for additional budget as we kind of increment from there. So again, we like to start with that crawl phase where we really identify kind of a use case where AI can help, whether it be creating a better customer experience or maybe streamlining operations if it's an internal use case, and then we implement that kind of basic use case. From there, we kind of understand what worked, what didn't work, and we start to add additional features. We add integrations and additional data sources to kind of enhance and fine tune that model. From there, once that's working, we kind of get to that run phase where we talk about integrating the MCP servers and building out agents to kind of allow that AI to perform more tasks for us. In the Visit New Hampshire example, that'll be, can we integrate with, weather services to kind of drive what might be the best trip itinerary? Can we integrate with OpenTable and the booking agents to kind of help people get their actual hotels booked and that sort of thing? And from there, we can really take off and get to that fly phase and kind of automate things, kind of that orchestration that Bill was talking about. If someone has built an itinerary and they start booking things, we have automations in the background looking at the weather. Is the weather changing? Okay, we can make, newer recommendations of what they could do. Um, if the AI notices that, Jelly Roll is obviously performing at the Bank of, New Hampshire Pavilion, can we, recommend that and, provide tickets for them, things like that. But really automating as much as possible, in that fly phase.
So I have one more thing to show
Yeah.
if you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go to our Google Chrome and then share. So since we're talking about Visit New Hampshire, I'm interacting with the site here that's associated with Silvertech. I'm going to say create an agent. And we are going to create a new agent, so it's not going to affect anything that you're doing. I just want you to know that, Derek, but we're just going to go and say, let's go create an agent. And one interesting thing is we have this automation full agent creation selected. So it's doing a bunch of things right now. It's going out, it's getting screenshots of the website so that it can then extract the brand from the website. It's going to then configure a bot for this agent that we just created, and it's going to theme it. It's going to create a contact form, and then it's going to start scraping the website. So typically, this process takes about 30 minutes. And as you've seen from the what we were showing on the travel tourism hospitality site, this multi-panel, so there's a bunch of AI that has to happen. So now I'm going to say, okay, good. This is the thing that's been created so far. So what it's going to do here, if I go down to my AI settings and I go down to my brand guidelines, let's see if it finished this process. So basically, it didn't yet, but it will shortly. So we'll give that a little bit more. We'll give it just a little bit more time, and then what I'm going to show you is the bot itself of what it created. And so what ends up happening is that it's going to go to it'll go to documents and start ingesting the website, and then it's going to come over here and start to create this bot. So it's already started the process, and it's running some AI to go create the web components and all those sorts of things that are associated with it. So we should see that in just a minute. And so it's so the AI that's used, so there's AI that happens in a number of things. There's AI that happens when you create the organization, and then in this case, it's Visit New Hampshire. So the AI at the beginning types in, it uses this LLM knowledge to also talk about what this organization do as a reference. You can always go to those settings and update those. It went over and it created this is what we call the system prompt. So the system prompt is so you can see you are an AI assistant for Visit New Hampshire, design the enhanced travel experience. So it's using its LLM knowledge to help us build out the system prompt to say what's the purpose of this being used for. Again, most people don't know what this is. People then customize this to sit down and say, really, how do we want the tone of this bot to behave so that when it's created, when it's the bot is being done and it's being used, it knows all the things that how it should behave. Then what you would end up doing is you could say, I want to come over here and extend it. I want to, enable email. I might want to enable Google Maps. I might enable Google directions because it's a travel site. Weather, you might want to integrate that. Then there's the custom integrations. And this is where with custom integrations, you would go and say, I'm going to add a custom integration. And when you add a custom integration, this is where you're going to connect to like MCP servers and things like that. Then when you come back down to the web controls over here, and we go and we look at this, and we look at this, it did not create. Let me go over here and encourage it to do something. So in this stage, we're going to ask it to go create a welcome message based on the context of what it's doing. We're going to give it some helper questions. So it's going to use AI to create some helper questions, and then it's going to go out and generate the screen itself. Give this a second. So there is a fair amount of AI happening, so it does sometimes take up to 4 minutes for the process to implement. So it came up with some good helper questions. Now we're going to go say generate the welcome. We could have given it instructions. We could have given it some layout ideas, but it's going to now create all the HTML, the script, and the style that's associated with that bot. And then once that finishes, it will be able to see it in a few seconds. So the concept here isn't that this is the out of the box, but it helps you to get an idea of things that you can go in and do, and then you start like this is kind of like the crawl step, where you have something where you can have a bot that can answer basic questions from the content of your website, and then it'll go from there. I know this seems like it's taking like it's not going to work, but it is. It's using Claude Sonnet 4.5, and it's writing a lot of styles, a lot of scripts, a lot of HTML, and it just takes a little time for it to generate. So I'm going to click Save here. Then I'm going to click Save here. And then I'm going to come over and say, what does this look like? And this is welcome to Visit New Hampshire, plan trip, stay, activities. So if I click on activities, seasonal highlights, hike and trail and lakes familiar, alerts, events. So if I click on events, so this is where it would go and talk to the back end. We haven't ingested really much of any content yet, but it's already starting to answer questions based on what is ingested from the site so far, but it's not ingested much of anything at this time. And then if you click on guides, it's then again, it's using AI to come up with different things. This is kind of like your walk, your crawl phase, and then you're going to go and look at all of these things and say, you know what, I don't want this. Or today we have like you can go back over here and you can actually look at the HTML and make the changes to it. You can look at the styles that we use, the scripts that we use, and you can make changes to it directly, or you can interact by giving it more instructions to say what it's going to do. This is going to be enhanced with a real our experience designer as we go into the beginning of next year.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's it. Just one last slide. Contact information. Thank you, Derek, for joining us today. We went a little bit over time, but we tend to do that just because we always have a lot of information to share. So if anybody wants to contact Derek, this is his email, derek.barca@silvertech.com. Check out their site as well, silvertech.com. And then feel free to ping AI 1 to Z if you all have any questions. We will be sharing this recording out, so if you always want to replay it, feel free to, but expect an email from us in the next couple of days. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.